It's the Old Doctor Who Show, episode number 109, Terror of the Zygons.
Go forward in all your beliefs and prove to me that I am not mistaken in mine. You couldn't control my mind before, and you certainly can't control it now.
Would you like a jelly, dear?
The TARDIS, when working properly, is capable of many amazing things.
Reverse the polarity of the neutron flows, and the TARDIS will be free of the force field.
But the TARDIS is more than a machine, Zygons. It's like a person, you see.
The resulting reaction is Friday. Are you ready?
Welcome back to the Old Doctor Who Show, your tri-weekly classic Doctor Who review podcast. We are talking to you now in New Jersey where weed is legal. So if you're sitting out there and you're waiting outside your dispensary, you can go on in, fella or lady or whoever's out there. It doesn't matter to me. Just go get your free New Jersey legal weed.
Legally.
Yeah, this
legally
is
supplied.
this is Eric, and I'm joined as always by my friend and your friend, Dan. Dan, how are you today?
Dr. Feelgood?
Dr. Feelgood.
I'm great, Eric. Now that we had that intro,
This
that's
is
pretty exciting.
I got to tell you, this is our second time going through.
Wait, this is the second time?
We were marred with technical problems. Normally, Dan and I are looking at each other as we talk. We couldn't handle that.
Gazing longingly into each other's eyes.
Dan's in Johnson North, his
compound.
other house in the Vermont.
We call it the Mar-a-Lago of the North.
Yeah, the Mar-a-Lago, exactly. He's hanging out with his boy T. Cruz. And they're, just coming out. I guess CPAC just ended, so that must have been a lot of fun.
Yeah, well, my friend Senator Cruz just needed some time to get away, so we're up here.
They're out there soup can shopping. So we don't have video. So we're a little bit off anyway, and we just recorded a whole bit, and I was not recording. So you're the real losers because you missed out on the gold that we were spinning. It was
amazing. It was an amazing 10-minute conversation, never to be repeated again. This is a pale imitation of
the one
that.
thing I will repeat from last time is I could really use your help if you want to pre-order Goblin from artist Will Perkins and I. It's a graphic novel. It's available now for $15. You can, well, it's not available, but you can pre-order it now. So just pre-order one for you and one for a friend. That's $30. You won't miss it. Send it to a loved one. I got to get them pre-orders going, Dan. And if you're wondering, wow, is he going to say to pre-order the book every time the show starts? Yes, until June 8th.
In fact, if he doesn't, I'll remind him to do that. How about that?
That's right. And now that we've gotten that out of the way, and I can feel like I want to just go in the shower because I always feel dirty marketing, self-promoting, we have to talk about Doctor Who. Oh, no, wait, no. You want to tell us about a classic,
I don't want to anymore.
Trademarked Dan Johnson recommendation. Go. HBO Max.
Just pretend, Eric, you were hearing this all for the first time. There's, at the top of the show, sometimes before we get into the review, we'll talk about other things that we're watching. For example, WandaVision, that we talked extensively about.
I forgot we also talked about WandaVision.
Yeah, so let's just talk about WandaVision again.
It's fine. The show sounded good. It also was the same title as I like the Pet Shop Boys. It was all working out. It was sad. It punches you in the gut.
Let me tell them about it.
You say it. You say it, Dan.
Why don't I tell them? It's even slightly Doctor Who related in that it is a Russell T Davies show called It's a Sin. Apparently, it aired over across the pond. I hate saying. Why did I just say?
Why'd you say it?
Over there in England land, a while ago. Just came over on our shores on HBO Max. It is the story of a group of friends through the 80s during the AIDS crisis in London. Incredibly funny, sexy, sad, and was a gut punch at the end, but in a very good way. So if you want to, party
I'm a little curious
and
about
AIDS drama, I think you should totally get on board.
It sounds like something that I will check out.
You
I like Russell T Davies. I like the Doctor Who Russell T Davies are some of my favorite.
Yep.
I really liked that Torchwood Children of Earth. What was it called? Children of Earth?
Yeah, Children of Earth, yep. That
Yeah,
was good.
I thought that was great. I wasn't as big of a fan when it went to... What network did it go to? It went to like Stars. I kind of...
And that was no good.
The premise was interesting. Like that first couple of episodes, it was like, oh, that's actually an interesting idea. But I remember, I think I fell off. I don't think I ever finished.
I never finished it either.
Yeah.
And I loved Torchwood. I loved Torchwood at the time. I went back and watched that.
Yeah, it was fun.
While watching Doctor Who back in that era. Anyway, that's enough of that. I just
Anyway,
wanted to say,
speaking of Doctor
good
Who,
content.
good shows.
We're going to
we'll start a second one. You know what? We'll start a what are they called where people pay us? What's that called? A job? Not a job.
No.
A Patreon.
No.
And then people will pay money, and then we will do a Twin Peaks podcast. We'll do a Dune podcast. We'll do a WandaVision podcast. We'll just talk about all this stuff, and we'll get $30 a month or whatever it would end up at.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Oh, I think we'd actually end up owing money.
We would.
Somehow.
It's like the indentured servants of... It's like we'd be like K-pop superstars. Because that's a whole thing.
Yeah.
My kids are obsessed. My 2 girls obsessed with... Are you familiar with K-pop? Do we have to go over the Stray Kids
girls
and everything?
Are interested in joining a
Yes.
K-pop band?
Well, like they put these kids and they get them when they're like children and they put them in these schools and then they get taught for like years before they're debuted as like a band, and then they have to pay back all the money from the school, and like it's like an 80-20 split, and that may be a generous one, and it's just like this weird entertainment corporate owned indentured servant thing. And I know what you're thinking right now, Dan. You're thinking like
sign me up.
Yeah. What's going on with Hyunjin, right? Like he's now on hiatus, so all my Stray Kids stands out there, is that right? Strays, you're probably wondering the same thing. But let's talk about
all of America is wondering.
Let's talk about Doctor Who instead of what's going on with the
if you want to, that's one way to go.
I think we can hit that button and we can talk about Zygons. I can't remember did we get as far as me saying there was only one episode of the classic series of Zygons? I don't know. Let's hit the button and find out. I'm not sure
then we'll jump into
if I'm there or here.
Okay.
Yep.
Just one way to find out. Let's do it. Hey, I got a question for you.
Yep.
Why do we do this every time? Why don't we just have a whole bunch of those sounds and we just put them in together every time? Why have we done it?
I don't know why we don't just can it and play it back, but there's something to... It's like WandaVision, where like each time she says previously on that the energy level gets sucked out. That's like us. So by like episode 130, we're going to be like, or you just hear like the beeping of our heart monitor because one of us is trying to end it.
Signal? Yes.
And that means that this thing, whatever it is on its way?
Yes. I see. Well, I'd better get our machine guns set up.
Machine guns may not be enough, Brigadier.
Then what do you suggest?
There's only one course still open to us. I'll try and draw it off while you get a fix on its activating signal. We must find its base, Brigadier.
Right, Doctor. Corporal, get that
Taking an
chart.
awful risk, Doctor. You don't know how fast this thing can move.
Doesn't know how fast I can move.
This is Terror of the Zygons, Dan. This is from 1975. Little young Eric was only a year old then. This is the first serial in season number 13, lucky number 13. It comes to us from writer Robert Banks Stewart. And, little Stewart. Hey, it's little Robert Banks Stewart. Like, do you imagine, like, a little kid in, like, a little suit with, like, one of those lollipops coming out? Sure. Like, I imagine, like, when they, on The Simpsons, they would show Burns when he was little. I imagine that's how Robert...
Big ringlet curls.
I want this monster to come through that door, like, or whatever. Okay, and it's also directed by Douglas Camfield of the Camptown Campfields. Mm-hmm. In this story, the Doctor, Sarah, and Harry, they're called to Scotland by a brigadier to investigate the destruction of a series of oil rigs. Now, the doctor surmises that it's got to be a giant sea monster, and he's got the dental mold to prove it. Meanwhile, a gifted man who happens to be the landlord is loosely connected to the plot, but to be honest, I kind of forgot what his role is in all of this. But maybe he died because the David Cronenberg Zygons killed him, or maybe he died of a broken heart. Who can say? I'm not sure. Dan, what did you think of the story Terror of the Zygons?
It was a fun story, Eric. I enjoyed this one very much.
So.
I didn't know I didn't know that it was a Sarah Jane and Harry as companions in the story. In fact, actually, when I started watching it, I didn't even remember which doctor it was. To be quite honest, I'm still not sure who was in this one.
It's anybody's guess.
I'm just kidding. But so that was fun getting to see them right away. The plot was pretty straightforward. It seems like the doctor pretty much jumped right to the answer within the first 5 minutes of the story. Oh, it's obviously a Loch Ness monster.
Yeah, there was really no detective work.
No surprises.
I mean, other than the teeth mold, but he was like, yeah, I know what it is.
Yeah, totally. Here's the dental records to prove it. The Brigadier is always fantastic. Brigadier in a kilt is great. You can't get enough of that. Sarah Jane is lovely as always. She was especially cheeky in this story. I think she was getting on some people's nerves a couple of times, it felt like. Not mine, though. Not mine.
No.
Love her. She was wonderful. Harry didn't have a whole lot to do.
Nope.
But that's okay. And is this the last time we're seeing Harry?
Yeah, Harry's gone. Too little or no fanfare. He's just, I think I'm going to stay here. And they're like, okay.
Okay, bye.
Yeah, they don't even Sarah Jane doesn't say goodbye to him. And then he leaves, and the last shot is the Brigadier and the other guy. They don't even give him the final shot. It's he's just like, I guess I'm staying.
He was there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so I know we're jumping ahead to the end, but like, it seemed to me that Sarah Jane and the Doctor were going to get in the TARDIS and go to London, and the rest of them were going to go to London by conventional means. So it seemed like Harry was just going to meet them there. He's like, I'd rather go by train and tube or whatever he was saying. So I thought that maybe they were going to meet up, and then something happens the next episode that they don't go back for Harry.
I thought he said, like, I'm going to stay here. Didn't he say something like that? I don't know. I don't remember the end, but this is his last one. Like, I don't think he doesn't appear again as in a regular way for a while.
And the actor never appeared again in public either. This is the last anyone ever saw him.
Oh, they murdered him.
That's not true.
Okay.
well, I mean, murder is a strong word when you kind of are asking for it.
I like Harry. He got shot in the head in this one. That's a reason why you'd be like, you know what? I think I might be done hanging out with you guys. I literally got shot in the head.
I was trying to help someone, and he died in my arms, and I got shot in the head.
I just died in your arms tonight, right?
That's where that song comes from.
That came from this.
Yeah,
it's actually based on a true story.
When he was recovering in the hospital,
yep.
He wrote a quick conversation.
Said, "Give me a haircut, 100."
Okay.
Is that haircut 100?
Do you want?
Give me a haircut, 100. The actual band is called Cutting Crew. Is that haircut 100?
I don't know. I don't ever want
Trapped
to know.
in a loop, my friend. Well, Dan, are you done? Because I'll tell you what I thought of this.
Yeah, I'm totally done. I'll see you later.
I thought this was a piece of crap. No,
I thought turn off the lights when you leave?
Yeah, I did. I already the lights are already off. I'm sitting in darkness and just wondering when it's all going to end. No, I thought this was a fun story. I like the Zygons. I felt like I mentioned a David Cronenberg thing, but it felt like naked lunch, like it's the combination of technology
Videodrome.
And organics, and also kind of creepy. I mean, Naked Lunch, you've got a lot of rear end play going on with the cockroaches, but here it's a little bit more kid friendly, I'd say. The characters were just kind of weird. Like I mentioned Angus. The guy, he's like, I'm a seventh son of a seventh son, and I've got second sight, and he plays the bagpipes. And then the doctor comes, and then the bagpipes stop, and he's kind of like weirdly like confrontational all the time with Sarah Jane whenever she's asking him about he's just kind of a weird character. And then what was the point of him? What was the point of his second sightness?
It had no bearing on the story at all.
It was nothing. I was like, he's like, I'm the seventh son of a seventh son. And I was like, he's going to somehow be, but not really. I mean, last time you see him, he finds the bug in the eye of the deer head, and then gets killed. I was a big fan.
His second sight would have maybe
should have seen it coming.
At least that. Nope.
Yeah, I liked Sister Lamont, who was like the women's prison warden. Like she was like right out of like Caged Heat or something. It was fun. It was fun. It was like 4 episodes, perfect length. It was a quick, fun ride. I liked all of the, the costumes and the stuff with the Loch Ness Monster and all of the, Ray Harryhausen type things where you saw like the eyes moving when literally the monster attacks at the end. I thought it was fun. It was a lot of fun.
So
what about the scarves?
I agree with all that.
Can we talk about the scarves?
Yeah,
please. So the story opens. Did you notice that the doctor is wearing a different scarf than he normally wears?
Yes.
And he's wearing his hat. He comes in and he goes, "What are you wearing? What's that?" to the Brigadier, and Sarah Jane's behind him laughing, and it had like a lot of high school bully clique energy coming off them. Like they're just coming in, and that could have been in Dawson's Creek or something. But then Harry has the doctor's scarf on, and scenes.
Sarah Jane was wearing his hat. Yeah. So Sarah Jane was wearing the hat.
Harry's wearing the scarf. They've mixed it up,
all dressed up in.
And then a scene later, everybody's back to normal. Like Harry has no scarf. The doctor's got his hat back on and his regular scarf.
Yeah.
There was no like
don't know what happened.
Cutaway. Like was that just them having fun? Like the actors having fun?
They don't show us everything that happens on the TARDIS between adventures, but there's a lot of dress up and role play that goes on. They get bored, they have time to kill.
But even like within the room, like we don't leave the room though. It's like the scene cuts, and I think it cuts to like a guy on the phone or something, but we're still in that same scene, and all of a sudden they had changed clothes. You know what I mean?
Well, what you can't see is they also switched underwear.
Oh, okay.
Everyone's wearing each other's underwear.
So you think between the cuts within the room, the Brigadier was like, "What are you guys doing?" It's like, "Oh, we're just returning all the stuff," and they just didn't show us that part.
Right. So you have to leave some to the imagination.
It was just weird, and I was like, "Well, is that just the actors having fun? Like, wouldn't it be fun if we just came out and had different? I was wearing that, and you were wearing that, or who knows?"
Well,
it was
they
like
do make
an
reference to the
moment.
Doctor having dressed up in traditional Scottish attire, ? I guess.
Yeah, I don't know a lot about this.
That I didn't notice that they switched back in the same scene in which you're still seeing them with the wearing that switcheroo.
It's the same scene. Like the next time you see them come in, the Doctor does his little minor bullying and then switches right. And he's like, "Oh no, it's a great look for you." And then at the next time you see Harry, he doesn't have it on. He doesn't have the scarf on, and he goes, "Oh, I'll go check out." He wants to go check out the oil rigs, and then Sarah Jane doesn't have the hat on, and she's like, "And I'll go check. I'll talk to the locals," which is her just going upstairs. And and then the Doctor's back to his, and that was it. And then all of a sudden the scene went on. But I still can't understand the whole bagpipe thing. He's playing it, and then the Doctor comes and he stops, and that's because he knows. Right, because he's got the second sight. Because they do that gag later on. I think somebody's talking and then it just starts up. It was just so strange.
Yeah. The guy's second sight only extends to him knowing when people are talking shit about him.
Yeah,
I think that's it. Which is a horrible skill to have, but poor guy. I guess it was an interesting character. I mean, at least he gave Sarah Jane a lot of the information, lay of the land. We got the lord of the area. His family has been there for generations and generations. I guess that doesn't count anymore. And kind of teeing it up that people have been acting strange since the oil rigs have been blowing up, and so he's given us a lot of backstory. He also read to me as exceptionally queer, but that could just be me.
No, you're talking about which guy? The guy that picked them up, like the Lord.
No, the Angus.
Oh yeah, sure.
Second.
Yep.
He made me think of like David, the only gay in the village.
Yeah.
Though not Welsh, but that was the vibe I was getting.
And what was up with the other guy that's like doing an American accent, right? I mean, that guy was doing.
Or was he?
Well,
because it came and went, and it also sounded Canadian. So it was either Great Plains of the U.S. or from Canada.
Yep.
And it wasn't rather inconsistent. Better than my British accent, so I'll give him that.
It was like an interesting story too. Like you feel like, oh, it's going to be like a Terror of the Autons type thing. Evil corporation comes in this case, ever since the gas company came in, the head of the gas company is going to be replacing people with these Zygons. But it's really the Duke of Forjol, right? That's the main person behind it all. And he's not really the gas company. I guess he's the head of the energy something or other, right?
Right.
It was just kind of weird that they talk about the gas company, but you never see anyone really from the gas company or from the gas place.
Deleted scenes, Eric. We really we'll get those.
Fair enough.
In the DVD commentary, they read the minutes from the meeting.
It was a fun story. Like definitely, I don't know if it was one of my favorites, but
I really enjoyed the Zygons. I think you're
who's that?
Comparing it to Cronenberg is pretty spot on. When you see before we see like the full reveal of what the Zygons look like from top to toe, all we see is their hands kind of massaging these
the buttons,
wet, slimy buttons and console, which is not something you see. I mean, I guess you get that a little bit with who did we just see? Not the Sea Devils, but the
Silurians or the Sea Devils. Silurians, yeah. Either answers.
My
acceptable.
brain literally just stopped.
Yeah,
like,
and I'm trying to remember.
Words.
I'm like, did we talk about them this recording or last recording? Because we had mentioned that before. Because I get them mixed up a lot.
All this
because they both look similar. They talk with that whisper talk, kind of slowed down. And did we cover this? I don't know. But this is the only time we see them, which I just find so odd that you only see the Zygons in this episode in Classic Who. Like
because they are very distinct, a distinct monster. I mean, with their starfish kind of appearance, the fact that they can shapeshift, they're really a compelling monster. Yeah, I'm surprised that they weren't used more heavily than some of the other recurring creatures. I mean, I think they're more interesting than the Cybermen are. For example, but that's fine. But so I just want to contrast what I thought was really interesting in terms of the set design when we get into their underground lair, all the organic and kind of mineral, crystal-y kind of mix of technology was really cool. They looked pretty impressive. I think the facial prosthetics and the overall costume, other than looking like a starfish, looked really convincing. But then you have the Loch Ness Monster, which looked absolutely terrible. I mean, is that not one of the worst? It is one of the worst effects they've ever done.
It did, but I liked it. I liked all the stop motion movement and everything, and
it's charming in a way because it is so bad. But this late in Doctor Who time, is this where they're having budget problems now? Is Tom Baker just taking a big old paycheck and they have nothing left to do?
Well, this is only his second season, right? So this is Robot or whatever. Robot was his first appearance, and that was only the previous season. And that's actually where Harry gets introduced. So Harry really only makes a season, and this is the season 13. So this is his first episode of his second season. So it's not like he's so established that...
Yeah. It's just being facetious in that this feels like, when they were having budget crisis earlier, I don't know. It just feels like by this point in what they're doing, that effect would have been better. But I thought the design of it was actually kind of cute looking in a weird way. The big eyes, and the way that's kind of like fluttering around. Other than the giant claws smashing around.
Well, they're
adorable.
They're like, we got to do a Scotland episode or story, and of course you have to include the Loch Ness Monster. How are we going to connect the Loch Ness Monster? Like, it almost felt like a little bit of an afterthought, the Loch Ness Monster part, because it's really about the Zygons, and this is just their pet. That they control.
It's more than their pets.
These they have got like the whatever that thing that calls it that it gets drawn to, and then they have got like a camera mounted in it because they're watching through the eyes of the Loch Ness Monster at one point. So I'm wondering how they have all of their technology working out. But
it's interesting because it was like a combination organic technology because that beacony thing got stuck onto the doctor's hand.
Yeah, that was a weird. That like the beacony thing too was very strange.
Yeah,
like when I was looking up David Cronenberg movies, it looks like something right out of that movie. I don't know if you saw it, Existence. It was one of his late 90s movies.
God, yeah, no.
But it's just like a pile of weird organic tubes, and like that looked like it could have just popped off from someone's insides or wherever they were putting it.
Yes, yeah, slightly body horror type look to it.
Yeah, but it was like, but that like all of the stuff was just so strange.
Yeah. But what I wanted to say is the Loch Ness Monster wasn't just their pet. You know, they brought it to Earth as a embryo and grew it and raised it and drink its milk.
Oh.
So it's a giant cow is what it is, which is cool.
It's cool.
That's what they mentioned. That's how they get their nourishment is from old Nessie there. So that's fun. And they tied it in real deep.
Right, and their whole like design, like the Zygon design, also feels very reminiscent of like the Elephant Man, like the way that they did the makeup on in that film, like the facial things, the way that the large extended forehead and everything, and those like weird suction cups that almost give it like an octopus like feel. Like it's such a weird design. It's such like it's unnerving, strange. But it works. Like the rib cage and stuff. It seems so underused that they didn't return to that form at some point, and maybe it just freaked people out too much.
All right, it is a very bizarre. Interesting enemy to have there. You know, and I like that they had to take the bodies that had to keep the people alive and put them into the little stasis where they're all kind of lined up along the wall in these weird organic technology tubes with their faces covered and their hands up. So that is nice that, you know, for once they didn't murder everyone.
It is like
they didn't just straight up murder everyone.
Yeah. It is a story. It is a story of almost too many ideas, because you've got the invasion of the body snatchers aspect to it, where they're replacing people, but then you also have like the Loch Ness Monster part, and you've got whatever they're destroying the oil rigs, because ultimately I guess they want to take over the Earth, as they all do. But there's just so many different elements. One of the things I thought was funny was when they take the Zygon that becomes Harry, right? So there's that cool scene where he's trying to kill Sarah Jane in the barn, and it's almost like a Friday the 13th Part 3 scene.
That was super terrifying.
Yeah, and then he gets impaled, right? And he gets killed, and then he becomes the Zygon. And they cut to the Zygons, and they're like, you know, hey, we lost the signal or whatever. And they're like, it's impossible unless something happened. It's like, of course something happened to the guy. Like, you got to check the status of the guy, and then if the guy's okay, then it's impossible. It's like, why? It was like they couldn't even believe that anything possibly could have happened to him.
Right.
It seemed like such an odd exchange. But that scene was very terrifying and
yeah, I'm glad that you mentioned that. It was the close-ups and in shadow where you just see Harry's eyes peeking out from behind the bales of hay. It was very creepy, very Friday the 13th. So there's an interesting mix. I think you have like a almost like haunted castle kind of vibe going on with the secret door passageway thing. There were a lot of. So we had also strange ancillary characters. We mentioned Angus before as the innkeeper. We had the sister nurse as well. We see
Sister
her bloody wandering through the forest when she's actually Zygon at that point. You also had this groundskeeper guy who was just a strange.
Now the groundskeeper is that he's not the sniper, right? That's the other guy.
Is he not? I thought he was the sniper.
I don't know. I should have watched it.
Well, yeah, I mean, we're doing this all just having read synopses online. We'd never seen Doctor Who, not once.
But go on, the groundskeeper.
Anyway. I was just exactly. It was groundskeeper Willie. Was just a very strange character the entire time. Sometimes they tip it a little bit too strongly, like, oh, this guy's a baddie. I mean, with the nurse, you couldn't quite help it because just every expression that she gave, it's like, oh, this is not going to end well for anyone involved. But even the groundskeeper from the very beginning, just like arched eyebrows at every turn.
The doctor does some interesting it seems like they played a lot more with this mind control, whatever kind of things, where he puts, not necessarily mind control, but he puts Sarah Jane in a trance when they're messing with the pressure in the room, or they're removing the oxygen from the room, or whatever they're doing, and he puts her into that,
kind of a
stasis state, or whatever. And he mentions he learned it from a Tibetan monk. But like he has like these weird powers that you don't always get, but they seem to rely on them very heavily in the 70s, where he's able to sort of do these things and stop his heart. And then he did like some really wonderful, weird choices as an actor, where when he put himself in that state, he did like a weird laugh or howl, or it was just so.
It was a howl of some
bizarre.
sort. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it just went on for several seconds. Yes. It just like open mouth. Whoa.
Like that's a choice he made.
Choice.
And then everyone on set was like, okay, I guess we're going with this.
This is what we're doing. Yep. Yeah. Let me give you a few different options there. Let me give you some notes there, Tom. No. I got this. This is what I'm going to do.
It was good. It's all fine. But you mentioned
Harry
fun. Not having a lot to do, and he really doesn't. Like, he goes out to find the rig, gets shot in the head, then is in bed with bandages, and then just gets stuck in that thing where he's got to put his head in that tube until he's rescued.
In a goo tube.
So he doesn't have really a lot to do.
There was a moment, you brought up the when the Doctor and Sarah are in the, what was it, like a pressurization tank or something like that. It was for the divers. The Doctor was really. It's because I think the emergency of the situation and needing to get her to get into the trance, whatever. But he tells her to shut up at one point during that, and I totally thought at that point is like, oh, the Doctor's realized that this is not actually Sarah Jane. This is a Zygon, and in this pressure chamber, he's going to survive, and the Zygon's going to die or something. That's why he's being so mean to this person that looks like Sarah Jane. But no, he was just being mean. I mean, trying to help her, I guess, but it was just a strange kind of
there's some weird energy
shift
between some of these lines, the way they're delivered. I don't know if he quite knows. He's not quite comfortable or whatever. He's just sort of always a little bit off kilter. Yeah. Caber was the guy that I couldn't think of, and I think that's the guy you were talking about.
Yes,
that is like the master hunter or whatever.
Right.
Or whatever he was.
What else we got?
I don't know.
Just something that I always notice is funny. You have a lot of the stories with UNIT involved.
Yep.
And there's a big crisis going on, and it's the Brigadier and like 3 guys. It's just like it's never a whole bunch of soldiers there to help them in these dire situations.
And they're like at someone's house and the bagpipes are going and they're just like, can we just do something about the sound? He's like, not really. I don't have a lot of pull around here. We're just be happy that this guy's letting us stay here. It's like the poor sad Brigadier. And then he gets gassed and then he wakes up and he's like pretends it never happened or he has no memory and they're just laughing at him.
Yeah.
Freaking Brigadier.
Brig. That's good stuff.
There's
really anything else to go on here.
I wish there was more. Again, I feel like it's just a lot of different ideas because there is like you get to the castle, right, and they make a point of saying like no one's here anymore, and you're like, well, is no one here anymore because it's the Zygons or because we just don't have any money left to get any more costumes or people or actors and. Like the way how empty the castle felt, and then you get to the castle and they try. I think at that point, Harry and Sarah are there, and the Doctor's going to investigate, and then they just kind of switch places, and then all of a sudden the Doctor and it's like there's these moments that sort of just happen where nothing really happens. I believe on that when the Doctor goes down, he does that horrible scream off air, and that may be one of the cliffhangers. But then later, the Harry and Sarah Jane are like, maybe we should go look for stuff. And the Brigadier's like, okay. And then they go look for stuff, and then they leave.
Yeah.
So it's like, there's just a couple of moments where it almost feels like there's pieces of the story missing. Or maybe there was one story, and then they cut a bunch of it out, or they added another element, and it feels almost a little bit incomplete.
Right. A little choppy through some of it. But... I mean, like we said, overall, it was a fun story.
Yeah.
That was great. All right. So, well, that's what
Is that
we
it?
think of this
Is that
story.
really it?
I think that's it.
One of her shorter ones, I guess.
I just don't think there was a whole lot of meat to dig into here.
Benton.
I mean, there wasn't.
Yep, we get Benton again. I mean, he's back. Benton Yates.
Right.
This time it's
Oh,
just
that's
Benton.
true.
He doesn't
Just
have a
Benton.
lot to do, but I always like him. I mean, he's always a good character to have. I like when I see
Yeah.
a person from Mutant and I recognize him. I feel
Right.
like I've accomplished
And I knew
something.
that it was Benton and not Yates this time, but I don't.
They
I
were
don't know what
growing
it
as
was.
people.
I always get them.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know. I never remember any of this stuff. Let's see.
And
so
yep.
what was that?
I was about to do that bit from that David Cross thing from Mr. Show when he's asking if he can get change for a quarter, and he's just sitting on the phone. He's like, but it's a mistake. It was a mistake, man.
You should let's leave all that in.
I'm gonna have to do a lot
great.
of editing.
All right.
So what did people?
Folks,
Dan, what did people?
that's what
think?
we thought about it. Yes.
Yeah.
Let's talk about what other people thought. So on Twitter, thank you everyone for responding. When we ask you to let us know what you think about the story reviewing. Our friend Paul Paranoid says, this is so much honest-to-God fun, one of the absolute best of the Sarah, Harry, fourth team. The Brig is in it. It's terrific. Okay, there's a horrific plastic dinosaur at the end, but every Doctor Who story has to have a flaw. This is Doctor Who as we remember it, joyous and scary, a 9 out of 10.
Yeah, I mean, it was fun. It was fun.
Paul does say though a 10 out of 10 is reserved for stories like Genesis of the Daleks and City of Death. City of Death for sure. I mean, we have to be responsible when doing this sort of thing. So thank you for that. Solid 9 out of 10. I mean, I don't know if I'd rank it that high, but overall it was super fun. I mean, it wouldn't be in my top 10
I can't,
stories that reviewed, but
no, Tom Baker is my favorite, so it's easy to always like him whenever he's
Sarah Jane's one of my favorites.
And she was great.
Thanks.
And she did that weird thing in the beginning where she was like, were you trying to pretend you were or she just does like some kind of weird hair thing with the Brigadier. Do you remember like when she first was giving the Brigadier some business about his getup, that he's like trying to imitate the Doctor or something? I don't know.
Yes. And she also, there's I think it was when she was left alone in the library to go digging for books, and she like sticks her tongue out at someone when they're not looking. Like she's
yes.
Super
there
fun.
you go.
I love her. Also on the Twitters, John Porter says one of the best. Great stop animation for the budget. Dripping in atmosphere with all the cast in top form. Quite brutal as well in places. I mean.
You get that Harry getting impaled. That's pretty rough.
Well, not Harry. Harry getting shot and the guy dying in his arms tonight. That was pretty brutal.
Yes, not Harry, but Harry falling and then becoming
the fake Harry.
Yeah.
Let's see. Great stop animation for the budget. So that's where I have a problem. I mean,
I agree with that comment. I thought the stop animation was good, even if the model maybe could have, I don't know, but that's kind of how that stuff always looks. I liked it. I didn't mind it at all. I thought it was like when it was on, I was smiling.
All right.
Yeah,
well,
I have a heart, not like you with your cold,
dead
black
inside.
heart and your eyes you rolled back in your head.
What?
I don't know. Dan, I'm so tired.
Okay. All right. We're getting there. The cynical archivist.
Oh.
All right, that's a good one. On Twitter says, well, the Briggs line about Madam, apparently it was an ad lib and Nicholas had Shirley Williams in mind. EU media goes with her being PM at the time, but it also alludes to the dependence on oil and how humanity being dependent on it has problems. Oh, okay. I'm glad that they mentioned this. So this is 1975. The doctor or the brigadier gets a call from the prime minister, and he replies, "Yes, madam." Thatcher doesn't become the first female prime minister until 1979, so that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I didn't.
Yeah,
I missed that.
That
didn't register with me. But
yeah, I had to run it back again just to make sure I was following properly, and check my timelines there. We have watched a fair bit of Margaret Thatcher media recently. What with The Crown and some other things. But it's always great to see this. Anyway, I thought it was pretty cool. It was a few years ahead of their first female prime minister actually happening for realsies, and they did it here. What are we? I never know this exactly. And I should probably do research at some point, but but my cursory look didn't show this. Are we set in at that time, present day, or is it like a year ahead? One of those things where it's like the not too distant future. Is it supposed to be 1975?
I always take it that whatever year happens to be the show is when they're sort of operating under. I mean, I'm sure there is like an actual timeline where maybe this is 1984, because there was some weird stuff with Sarah Jane, right? Where it was like, I think it was Sarah Jane, where it was like always was a couple of years ahead, and then they tried to retcon that and fix it all. So, but whenever I watch these, I just assume it's the present day.
I always assume that it's like a year ahead or something like that. So
sure.
It just
I think whatever works for you, I think you can go.
Whatever gets me through the night, crying and screaming. Great. Okay. Next on their list, the City of Jeff says, my all-time favorite story. All right.
Really? The all-time favorite story? Interesting.
That's right. This is the definitive example of a 4-episode monster story. I agree with that. Masterful direction, filmic score, and John Friedlander's utterly terrifying Zygon mask. I love those masks. The split down the face of it, and terrifying, exhilarating, and utterly charming. Absolutely adore it. That is terrific. That is really cool. Yeah. So thank you for that. Yeah, cool, I think it is a great 4-parter. I do like the monster story, which is fun. But favorite story ever. Okay. Wilberforce says, I love the Loch Ness Monster is I love that the Loch Ness Monster is utterly sidelined by its masters. A brilliantly realized creature on a number of levels, a peak farewell for UNIT and Tom's first crew. I drew and rewrote the story for years and nicked the school copy of the novel. This is one of the things where we review these things out of any sort of chronological order. I try not to read ahead and don't want to spoil any things, but I didn't realize this is a farewell for UNIT. I mean, we do know this is Harry's last romp.
It's the last. And Harry, you forget, is a member of UNIT, right? I think that's how they originally attached him to the Doctor. But yeah, so like I think we don't see the Brigadier for a long time, probably, right. Or at least as the way that we did before. And it's slowly you think about Pertwee, and Pertwee's run was mostly on Earth. Yeah, UNIT was just such a big part of it, and now we're going into space to the weird stuff.
Going back into space, things are going to get weird. Paul Faber says, the Brig leads UNIT for the last time as the 4th Doctor. Does everyone know this but us? That's fine.
Yeah,
we're just hosting a podcast that we don't know anything. As the 4th Doctor, Sarah Jane and Harry encounters shape-shifting aliens using the Loch Ness Monster as part of an invasion plan in atmospheric Scotland. It's perfectly summarizes this one. David Richardson says, watched this recently for the first time since OT, I'm assuming since it originally aired. Shocked to discover filmed in Sussex, and not a foot was planted in the Highlands. I mean, I wouldn't know the difference, 40 years later, and someone.
I like that the story takes place in Scotland, and they make a point of saying something about haggis, which is like the only thing
they did have to say.
They had to say. It's like hey, we have to say something about haggis. I also assume that this is probably, if you were Scottish, you're like, this is a little racist, right? I don't know if it is. Like, I can't tell, but you get the feeling like, it's probably.
There is more to us.
A little heavy on some of this stuff.
All right. This is. I'm sorry, just reading through the rest of this.
Spaced.
Oh, I did put this out there as well. Question. Did any Doctor Who story, TV, book, audio, comic ever explain why so many alien races are interested in taking over, destroying, or messing with the Earth? Why is everybody always picking on us? Because it is the case. Like this, it's
Yeah, it's a lot of.
Why do the Zygons have to come to Earth when their planet was destroyed or whatnot? Is it just because that's where the writers happen to be? I'm just saying.
One little thing that I did look up while you were talking, like the next time we see the Brigadier isn't until Peter Davison to the Mawdryn Undead. So you pretty much
right.
the rest of Tom Baker run, which is quite a long time.
Flying through space.
Unitless, I guess.
No, man without his unit. Our friend Hair the Hound on Twitter tells us, this is a first-class Who story on every level. Lots of atmosphere, suspense, action, and horror. The hilarious Scarison puppet in Part 4 gets all the glory, but the rest of the model work and design, especially the Zygons, is outstanding. This is my TARDIS crew, and this story couldn't make me happier.
That's pretty much matches your opinion that the Zygon outfits were so great, but then maybe not so much with the Loch Ness Monster.
Not so much. Maybe shifting the budget around a little bit would have been cool. Our friend also links to some incredible... Check out some of Adrian Solomon's incredible Zygon-inspired art from various projects and commissions. Some really cool comic-style Zygon drawings that are give you nightmares. Pretty cool stuff. Let's see. Uncle Beard says, Terror of the Zygons does creepy like no other Doctor Who story. From the swiveling eyes of the mounted deer. You like that one?
Was a little goofy.
It was goofy. I liked it.
And I wanted the camera to like go in and out or get like that flat Sam Raimi thing that he did in Evil Dead, like expecting like the thing to turn and start talking to the seventh son of the seventh son.
Seventh son.
I am a seventh son of a seventh son. Are you?
Nothing that apparently means anything.
It doesn't mean anything.
So from the swiveling eyes of the mounted deer head to the swiveling eyes of the creepy AF nurse to the swiveling eyes of the Scarison. There's a theme here. Absolutely true. Accurate. This user replies, woke light citizen of nowhere. Okay, I don't know. This is another user replying to them saying, those swiveling eyes fucked with this 5-year-old's head.
Hey, you're just gonna make us have to mark this as an explicit podcast at the end.
Unless you want to bleep me, I'm just quoting someone.
I'm too tired.
I'm just quoting one of our super.
No one will get this.
This is true. Law says Terror of the Zygons is pure class. It's Invasion of the Body Snatchers out there with Doctor Who flavor. Does this sort of story 1 million times better than the later season 3, The Android Invasion, which is a poor take on Body Snatchers vibe. It's like Terry Nation tried to rip it off. This user gives it a 10 out of 10 on this one.
Now, just the fact that it seems like we're getting more feedback on this story than we have in quite some time. People love it.
Yes. Yeah. This is a story people are remembering fondly, so that's pretty awesome.
Now I feel better that I got that big back tattoo. Terror my Zygons, it says.
Terror of the Izods. Answering my question about why everyone wants to pick on the Earth, Paul Faber says, as the Brigadier explained unit to Dr. Liz Shaw in Spearhead from Space, this was a long time ago, we reviewed that one, numerous probes have been launched from the Earth to explore the local solar system and surrounding space. This way, the Earth's profile was being raised. Oh, that's good.
What a mistake that was.
Should never talk to your neighbors in the solar system. That's what we've learned today. So those are our tweets. Thank you everyone for replying to us on Twitter. That's at TODW show
and
on the Twitter.
We have at least one email too.
We do. I was just flipping over there. I was vamping. while I get over there. Vamp. So if you want to tweet at us, please do it at TODW show. That's where you also see the GIFs that I painstakingly and lovingly craft for you folks. But you can also email us if you're not on Twitters. You can at theolddoctorwhoshow@gmail.com, just like our friend Christopher did. They say, Terror of the Zygons. Greetings, gents. A few thoughts on Terror of the Zygons. Their costume design is one of the best of the classic Who era. It really holds up. 1000% agree. Although, I must say, their manner of speaking in a whisper is a bit annoying. But I'm willing to let Zygons be Zygons. Nice. Pretty good. But that is true. I mean, maybe it's just because we had seen Sea Devils, right before this. That whispering alien thing is just like, it's a little grating. It gets a little overdone. That's my opinion. This is Tom Baker's second season Doctor Who. You can see by his broad smile that he is not tired of the part. There is plenty of Tom's humor and wit on display in this story. I had to do a double take when I saw the Duke in episode 1. Why, it's John Woodnut. He was in Spearhead from Space, John Pertwee's first episode. He worked in the plastic factory and was being controlled by a nesting consciousness. Oh, okay. Wow, he went all the way from there to becoming Lord. That's pretty impressive for that guy. Really shows you how the class system in England is just lets everyone rise to the top. The slow reveal of the Zygons in episode 1 and that cliffhanger with its full reveal. Wow. Zygon facsimile of Harry confronting Sarah in the barn was fantastic, very dark. Liz Sladen deserves the Oscar for her reaction, which I think is why she is my favorite companion of the Tom Baker era. I second that as well. Zygon saying "Die, Doctor, die" in one episode cliffhanger is verbatim what the Master says, and how he says it when the Fifth Doctor is regenerating in Caves of Androzani. Chills. The only weak part was the hand puppet Loch Ness Monster, but everyone else's performance in the cast more than makes up for that. Overall, I really enjoyed it. Classic Tom, 2 thumbs up.
Yeah, thank you, Chris.
Not much to complain about there.
No,
I think,
and I'll just 100%. Throw this out there. Chris actually recently interviewed me. He has a podcast called Creator Talks. He does a lot of comic book interviews. And we've talked about him before. I think we've plugged the show before. Yes. You should check it out. It's a great
totally
interview show. I think it's Creator Talks Pod on your iTunes. But yeah, and I just did an interview which will go up probably closer to the time that Goblin comes out. So be sure to check that out. I will obviously plug it as we get closer again to that too.
Couple more times. That's fantastic. I have been on no other podcast.
You can have Dan on. Why don't you, one of you podcast people, have Dan on?
Oh, maybe I should, create a comic book or a whole series of comic books before people invite me on their podcast. But that's fine. That's fine. You're putting in the work. So that's how you can reach us there. So please feel free to send us an email at theolddoctorwhoshow@gmail.com.
Yep.
You can go to theolddoctorwhoshow.com to see our schedule and all the previous episodes, all the gifts that I don't post on Twitter or that we post on our Instagram, which is also at TODW Show. So check those out as well. Eric, what else can you tell these fine people who are slogging with us all the way to the end of this?
Why don't I tell them that they can go to the olddoctorwhoshow.com and subscribe to the podcast on whatever platform they want, and if it happens to be the Apple platform, they can leave us a review like these 2 reviews that we have.
No way!
Yes.
We have 2 reviews?
I don't know if we read one. I don't think...
Do it. Read it again if we already did. Who cares? This is for our own pleasure. It's from
February 1st, which I think, because we do this every 3 weeks, even though it's the 28th now.
I don't think we did read it.
I don't think we did it, so I think we're good. No, so this is called Old School Doctor Who from SPEC Grenader, Spec Grenader. I don't know if that's right, but they say 5 stars. Thank you. A fun podcast featuring 2 entertaining friends. They've got a casual hangout vibe, funny banter, and for a podcast that calls itself out on not doing much research, a pretty solid grasp on the show. Also, the song selection for the outro music is always inspired. Well, thank you very much, Spec. Yes, that seems to be the thing that people sort of take to is our level of research. Or
yes, we really extensive amounts of research.
Not unlike the second review that we got. Entertaining.
Oh no.
This is from S Hutchy Touchy whatever. It's a bunch of stuff, bunch of weird random characters. This is 4 stars. I enjoy listening to these guys. They don't know everything about their subject.
No.
But they are always entertaining. I think they're learning on the fly is part of the charm. I'm hooked, though I have to slow down since I only listen to episodes I've actually seen. Lighthearted listening that I recommend. Well, thank you very much.
I'm so glad you like it.
Yes.
That's great. I mean, hey, man, I can say that we're just trying to avoid spoilers by not doing too much research, but let's just be honest here. We're just, here to talk smack and hang out.
We're here to hang out.
I'm glad that you're enjoying it as much as we're enjoying doing it, which is a lot.
Yeah, and speaking of enjoying doing it, we better start enjoying doing a review of Web Planet, which is going to be our next one. So in 3 weeks from the time that you hear this, we'll be back with Hartnell again. Because
that's all we got left.
Yep.
All we got. So wait, do we have any?
Yeah, we do. We
have the first 4 Doctors still.
We still have more Pertwee. We still have more Tom Baker. And I think that's it. I think we just rotate now between Hartnell, Pertwee and Tom Baker, because I believe we're done with Peter Davison.
Yeah.
We're done with Colin Baker.
I think
we're done with
1, 3, and
McCoy.
4. 1, 3, and 4.
Yep. And Troughton,
All right.
unfortunately, they erased all of their episodes with It's a Living. It's just like you put on one of your favorite things, and it's Sunny at the piano, and Ann Jillian is serving up shrimp scampi.
Nice work if you can get. All right, folks. So join us next time for our It's a Living fan cast.
Yeah.
Life's not the French Riviera. Believe me, life's not a charity bar.
That's weird because the show came up twice in the last 24 hours, and both times by me. So that's not that.
That's not that weird at all.
I'm always
That's probably
looking for a chance to talk about. I was way into that show. I was way into that
liked
show,
it.
like Golden Girls. It's no
For
wonder
sure.
that. Yeah.
No Wonder. What about Small Wonder?
Oh yeah,
mean,
hey,
that's
that's a
another-
creep.
I mean-
You would never be able to do Small Wonder. Obviously, it's
Oh, no.
a little hacky to bring up, but it's kind of weird. A guy makes a little girl robot doll for
Who lives in a closet.
because I'm assuming they had a daughter who died. And
They don't
the
ever say
wife
that,
doesn't
that I
know,
know
and
of.
so they has to bring her back in. It's like a weird, very dark thing.
Didn't know there's a whole amount of deception going on here.
There has to be
inside
if
the
you're
family.
making a child and then passing it off as a human child.
I guess so. Yeah,
It's fine.
Yeah. Anyway,
You wondered
we'll
like
get
why
into this next time.
why didn't WandaVision do some kind of Small Wonder thing? Could have
Right.
worked that in with Vision.
That would have been
Yeah.
nice, but no, we got Muck in the middle. That's great. We got Modern Film. Anyway, we're not doing that again.
Nope, we're done,
folks. Thank you so much, and we will talk to you again in another 3
in
weeks.
3 weeks. See ya. Peace.
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 Peace. Always peace. Always with peace.
All right.
Captain Bill hit the sonar and Steve weighed anchor. Something hit the boat and nearly sank her. A fin broke the surface, a bump cut the water. I went overboard and I nearly caught her. Nancy, can you hear me? Nancy, can you hear me through the wheat and brine? Come out from the lock, come out from Loch Ness. I'm gonna make a fine, make a fine. I spent all my money on some film and some horse.
Where's my robot? You know?